Hi, this is T.S. Yoxheimer, and I'm once again in Centralia. I'm doing a little bit of a street tour, and this is actually the site of one of the most recent homes that was demolished in the town. And so the street I'm currently standing on is South Street. There's no street signs left in Centralia, so I'm basically going to go around and map out where the streets are and what they were named. This is known as Apple Alley. It intersects with South Street, and it goes down pretty much through the length of the town. It's just a narrow street. See, there's a manhole cover. That's pretty much the only thing, one of the few things to indicate there was a town here other than the streets. And there's, as I said, there's no street signs, so you have to go on Google Earth to find them. And the main road going through was known as Locust Street, right there, and that's just the main route going through the town. Alright, this is Park Street. There's actually one inhabited house at the end of the street, and that just goes right to the main road, to what was Locust Avenue. And all that remains, again, is sidewalks, and there's a fire hydrant, and there's a stop sign. These people still do travel these streets. Some people even live here, so. I'm just going down Apple Alley. There's a lot overgrown, but the street, the little narrow alleyway here is pretty clear. You can drive down it pretty easy. It's really popular lately for ATV and people on their dirt bikes and stuff like that. But yeah, these were where people lived, and it's just overgrown as though 100 years went past, even though only maybe 10, 20, maybe 30 years ago there were houses here. And then there's Storm Grate. And you go down here, I'm heading towards Center Street, and you go past this, there's some kind of auto body type shop here. There's a bunch of old classic cars. Which is kind of what I just wanted to film, because I never really did this part of town in my previous videos. But this street here, coming up on Center Street, this street is the street that doesn't quite have a name, because there's a street you pass, and on Google Maps it just doesn't come up as a street with a name. There's streets across Locust Ave that have names if you look it up on Google Earth, but this one doesn't. It probably did, but it's a pretty wide open street. But you go down here, it's Center Street, which is a main route. One of the main routes in the town, and there's an eerie auto body yard. Just a car lot. Some old mechanic. I don't think anybody gets their cars fixed here. It just looks like there's just some abandoned cars sitting here. But some cool old classics like this old car from the 50s, which is pretty cool looking. It looks like this is where Christine was bought in the movie Christine. It's about as Stephen can. It might be a Ford Fairlane. And then there's like I think a Lincoln. It's a Mercury. Not sure if it's some kind of car. It's very Lincoln-like. It looks like the car, almost like the car Kennedy got shot in. So somebody owns this. And there's a little alleyway there. It's just one of the, maybe an old driveway to a house that's no longer here. But yeah, more overgrowth. Just this, pretty much every block in Centralia looks like this. Trees, bushes. And it's, right here is Center Street where the stop sign is. And it's just a gorgeous day out, so I just thought I'd if I'm gonna make a video, do it today and tour the streets. And it's, yep, right here. And actually, right on the other side of the street here is one of the remaining inhabited homes of Centralia. But if you ever come to Centralia, just don't trespass. The people live here; it's their home, so be considerate, as I'm attempting to be. And that's the road that goes behind the old municipal building, which I guess is technically in operation, but it seems like it isn't. So this is that's part of Route 61. Coming up, walking up the sidewalk. At least there's still sidewalks here. It makes it nice and convenient when you're walking along the road. It's busy. This is a street that doesn't really have a name. Probably does or did, but it doesn't show up on Google Earth. Even though it's kind of one of the more cleared off, prominent looking streets in town. But I'm gonna be coming up on what is considered Paxton Street. And I'm in the sun trying to map out where I'm at. So Paxton Street, I'm leaving Locust Ave, and okay, so away from there, and I'm not, but this was obviously one of the more neighborhood streets. I'm in direct line of sight with this alleyway with the old church on the hill. And there's some brush trees blocking it. Yeah, there it is. Pretty far. It's up there in the hill. It's part of what inspired the film Silent Hill. Not the video game. Movies, I guess, came after the video game. So this is one of the alleys. And I believe we're on Paxton Street. But it might be over one. Because just over that area of grass is another. Alright, come on. Where's... Okay, I'm getting back to it. Alright, I'm gonna go over there and check that out, so I have to make sure what street I am in fact on. And this is Paxton Street. I just walked down an alleyway. That's the alleyway, continues right there. It's a little overgrown. And the street goes basically up the mountain. According to the map, just goes right up there. It's pretty long. Pretty long street. It's hard to imagine all these houses that were here. It really is, when you see it. And I'm going to walk up this alley and we're going to check out like 1 or 2 more streets. And that should be, we're nearing the end of mapping out the streets of Centralia. This is Myers Street. It's on sort of one end of town. There's a sidewalk. And across the street there is a house where someone still lives. There's actually, I think, 2 there. There's 2 row houses there. Because they would tear one down and then they would reinforce it with buttresses on the side to keep it up. Because they made a deal with the state that they could stay here for the rest of their lives. But they don't own their homes, technically speaking. Yeah, this is Myers Street. This is Railroad Street. It's two-way street, has sort of a grass abutment going up the center. I believe like mine cars used to go up and down these streets at one time. Apparently the mine, I've seen like old pictures of it. That's why they call it Railroad Street. And there's just a huge former block in the town of Centralia that is just now just covered, just overgrown with trees. There's little alleyways in there and all kinds of things that to find when you walk into these blocks. I wouldn't really encourage it because you don't know, there's just things you can trip over, holes, who knows what. But there's no real danger from the mine fire itself. It seems to have moved. The air quality here is pretty much back to normal. This is Trautwein Street. And it kind of just ends where there's a lot of overgrowth up there. And it goes across what is Center Street or Big Mine Road. Right there. It's a big wide open street. And there's one house left on it. One lone greenhouse. It's I've seen a couple of recent documentaries like The Town That Was or Pennsylvania's Lost Town. You'll probably see this house on it. This is what I'm talking about when you go into the basically the city blocks, the lots. There's the abandoned alleyways that there's some overgrowth. You can walk through it. If you're going to cut through the blocks, it's probably the best way to go. Just some overgrown weeds. But yeah, there's There's another intersecting alley there too, where it almost just looks like a tree. There's a big tree next to it. A lot of trees around it. You can't really, I wouldn't advise going through that. So I'm just going to head and show the abandoned portion of Route 61 before I leave Centralia. And this is the infamous graffiti highway, the abandoned section of Route 61 in Centralia. And it's one of the biggest draws. This is the 6th most visited tourist site in Pennsylvania, from what I understand. And there's a lot of people here today because it's a gorgeous day out to go see an abandoned town. One of the ways you get around here is there's a lot of paths all over this place. Traversing the whole town. It's pretty popular with, of course, people on their ATVs and their dirt bikes. And one of the few sort of visible remnants of the town is, of course, the cemeteries that are here. There's just one of them. This is one near the highway, the southern end of town. This couldn't be more like The Hills Have Eyes, or I guess Silent Hill would be a more appropriate comparison because it's loosely based on this, inspired by it, but everything's creepy and abandoned, and even on a nice day, I feel like people are just gonna come out of the trees and grab you and eat you or hold you prisoner or whatever. Make you marry their inbred kin. Yep, there's the cemetery. One of, I think, 4 that are here. There's Oddfellows, there's a Ukrainian Orthodox cemetery, and there's this one. Yeah, this one's St. Ignatius Cemetery. And the one thing about the cemeteries here in Centralia, they're very well maintained. Like, better maintained than in my hometown, where there's still a legal municipality. I believe this is where the gas station was at one point. I'm just there's like kind of a concrete, looks like you would pull up where the pump was, because there was a gas station that was torn down because of the mine fire. Because it was heating up the temperature of the gas in the fuel reservoir below. From the looks, it might be the remnants of it, because it's kind of an open area, the location of it. But yeah, this was the locally owned gas station in Centralia that was torn down a long time ago, I think in the early 80s. So I'm up here. This is Laurel Street. It's the last street before I leave Centralia, and it looks like the set of The Walking Dead. Probably most abandoned towns kind of do resemble an episode of The Walking Dead. And up there is the church that is, I guess, inspired the film Silent Hill. There is graffiti everywhere, much like Highway 61, and it's pretty post-apocalyptic. It doesn't look like any place else around here, like the inhabited towns where there's still an economy and a lot of people living there, maintaining it. So this has been D.S. Yoxheimer. This has been another edition Inspector, doing another edition from Centralia. If you like my videos, subscribe. If you do come to Centralia, be careful. It's an abandoned place. There's not any maintenance. If you go traversing into the abandoned city blocks, there's holes, there's things like that to be mindful of. I don't know why I'm putting a disclaimer on here, but I wouldn't advise young people doing it without their folks. So anyway, thanks for watching and take care.